What's up, squad? This is Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, great story out about Secretary of State Marco Rubio is making a Caribbean trade trip. I don't want to say trade necessarily, but definitely a trip to build on bilateral agreements with Jamaica, Guyana, and Suriname. And what really struck my attention, one, this is why I always talk about understanding the African world and its various components. All of these countries are heavily influenced by African diaspora. Um, Especially Jamaica and Guyana and Suriname are kind of colonial hangovers. They were sort of the sugar plantations of old, whereas Guyana was under the British during colonial times, and you have a large influence of East Indians and Africans there. And then you have Suriname, which was under the Dutch, and they also have a large influence of Indian and British and African migration as well. So very closely linked, right next to each other. It's in a very strategic position northern parts of South America, basically flanking Brazil to its south. And these countries, and they say that this is going to be about fighting illegal activity and crime. Look at this. Jamaica. Jamaica has Kingston Harbor. Jamaica is one of the great island geostrategic locations in the world. It sits right outside of the Panama Canal. So therefore, have heavy influence within Jamaica. You'll have heavy influence and on the Panama Canal. And this is what the British did during their colonial time. Jamaica gave them great strategic location within the Caribbean Sea. On the other hand, Guyana and Suriname, these are two countries with populations less than 1 million people, and they are coming into their newfound oil wealth. So America is looking for their companies to basically access this area, and this is basically America doubling down. Marco Rubio is going there, and this is also going to put pressure, I think, on Venezuela, which I think the Trump administration has been targeting. So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is going there, develop these relationships, probably get American companies within these countries to basically take part in some of the drilling and obtaining of their oil wealth, and as well going to Jamaica and building further relations with that greatly strategic company. When you take all these things together, you have to really appreciate the Trump America First philosophy. And this is one thing that I do appreciate about what they're trying to do. It seems as though he's actually just trying to create the most powerful country America can be. These moves are so fundamental. Prior administration geostrategic priorities was America is in the mushy middle, or it's the center, the core of the alliance. And they basically had these outliers in Asia, Japan, the Mariana Islands, Micronesia, Guam, and on in Europe they have Germany, NATO, pretty much. And in between, of course, is America, and it was protected, and it built relationship with those allies. Trump is going old school, 20th century, 19th century geopolitics. We are strong not because we are strong. We are strong because we are strong. We being self. So I am strong not because we are strong. I am strong because I am strong. And that is his fundamental philosophy. That's why you get to double down with these hemispheric goals. It's very North American centered. He's trying to protect this part of the hemisphere and basically double down on it and fortify it. And because think about it, America is the most powerful, wealthiest country in the world, but that is contested. It's not undisputed anymore. You see the great advances that are occurring in countries like China, and India is on its way. And what Trump is doing is saying, instead of building through allies, let's just take it ourselves. Let's acquire Greenland. Let's try to make Canada fold. Let's bring Panama into the loop. And let's basically push out and apply pressure to anybody we think can open the door for foreign powers to come within the Western Hemisphere, i.e. Venezuela. So you see this America First foreign policy outside of his exploits in the Middle East, but he's trying to suck those American resources back into North America. And I think this is the fundamental, what you could say is the fundamental framework for what was sort of a nebulous foreign policy, but it really is coming into view. It's very old school. It's very block and tackle. I'm very interested because you haven't seen geopolitics practiced this way. But you have to understand, in doing so, he's basically about to create his own competitors. It's only a matter of time before China's already starting to do it within East Asia, and they're trying to obviously manage that. But compare Trump's America First foreign policy with Barack Obama's pivot to Asia, completely different. And so he's almost conceding, with the exception of giving nukes to Australia, and they'll get there when they get there. He's pretty much conceding large swaths of the world to the competitors, whether that's Ukraine or Russia. What he say? They could be Russians. Basically giving up Europe, saying you're on your own. And it's only a matter of time for Europe going to look to try to exert influence and build alliances within their sphere of influence, whether that's in the Middle East or Sub-Saharan Africa. So you have all these things playing into place, and you have Trump doubling down on hemispheric defense and basically trying to fortify the United States with hardcore trade alliances, and in some cases, he may be very serious about annexation. So we're going to continue to follow these stories. It's very interesting. I think it's great learning about these countries from an American point of view. Americans aren't that familiar with their backyard because a lot of these countries are relatively small and they're relatively in a loop. America is already a major trading partner in this part of the world, but their geostrategic importance has been magnified, not only for the relationships they have with the United States, but the opportunity of denial that you give countries like China and Russia who will seek to try to exert influence in this part of the hemisphere. They'll go in and see America has already done so. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Comment below if you have any experience or insight. Do you think we're landing close to what you were thinking or we're far off? As always, like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, take care. Bantu up.